Good morning, everybody. How we feeling? Life of a cannabis CEO involves throwing the after party and demonstrating a lot of various cannabis uses and mechanisms, and then feeling fuzzy and getting up and having to do a speech the next morning. But so it's a great gig, and I'm truly grateful to be here, and thanks to the Gathering for putting on this event. How many people had a cocktail last night? Hold up your hand. And how many people had cannabis last night or through the weekend? So yeah, pretty similar number. Don't tell, for all of our American friends, don't tell the border agents that you consumed any cannabis, because even consuming cannabis in Canada, if you mention that going across the border, is not welcome. A couple milestones I want to share with you. Today's an awesome day actually for Spiritleaf. We just opened store number, or I guess this morning we're opening store number 45 and 46, which is pretty amazing. Makes us we continue to be the largest actually recreational cannabis retailer in Canada, if not the world, with 46 stores. And also yesterday, we served customer number 1 million. We had over 1 million customers since legalization on October 17th. So it's been quite the journey, and really this story is only 2 years old, and happy to share it with you today. So I bring you back to my personal career. I've been a fourth generation retailer actually, from fur trade to furniture, and then in 1999 when I finished my MBA, I had the dream job, I guess, and hated my life. Just like I can't get up and wear a suit every day, it's not me. Always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and quit my job with no plan and said, that's it, I'm gonna go start my own business. So the first retail concept I opened was Watch It, which is a chain of recreational retail stores. And from 1999 and basically 2018, we built it across the country to 30 stores. It was a franchise system and super successful. But then Apple and Amazon came along, and Apple, just give you a little quick fact, just reported they sold more watches than the entire Swiss watch industry last year. So crazy. So we kind of saw the writing on the wall, and we needed to pivot. And while pivoting, what we were really trying to figure out what we were going to do. The side story behind all that, from 1999 to 2018, I've never really shared this before, but I've always been kind of a cannabis guy. I was the guy, at the party, everybody's getting drunk, and I didn't like to drink, so I was the one smoking weed on the side. Doing Grateful Dead, Fish shows, and it was always just part of my life. So Justin Trudeau comes along in 2018, and we see that cannabis is about to become legal in Canada. So we're thinking about this, okay, we've got this amazing team that we've all worked together, we've already built a retail chain, and my buddies start going, Darren, like if somebody's gonna do this, it's gotta be you. So with great hesitation, after 20 years of retail, kind of swore off retail, said I can't do this again. Another 20 years, you take a beating in retail. But then I started to do some numbers, some research in Washington State and Colorado. And I was like, oh my God, the numbers at these cannabis stores are pulling are incredible. Greater than Whole Foods, like greater than an Apple store. And I went down to these stores in Colorado and Seattle, and they're, no disrespect to them, they're doing incredible volume, but they're terrible. Like the retail was just really questionable. Concrete, bad displays, and I was just like, oh my God, we can do so much better than this. And we started to make some moves. So I'm gonna show you what our store looks today, just give you an idea of where that kind of played into. So that didn't just happen. I mean, it's crazy to think it's only been a couple of years, but really the kind of the 6 things that we focused on, we want to build a great retail brand, was one, we really wanted to invest in our people. The people are the human energy that are driving it. And I think when you go into our stores every day, we've grown from 0, well, I guess there were 10 of us that when we really started, to over 400 employees, and we'll go to almost 1,000 employees by the end of the year. So we really invested in how we were gonna treat our people. The in-store experience in retail is everything, right? You're selling experiences, not necessarily product. We really looked at the marketing. I mean, we've got the best marketers in the world here, so we took a really good view at the 360 marketing. It was also important for us to be part of the cannabis culture. We really wanted to be authentic, and then we built a network of strategic partners, and we also wanted to invest in our community. And I don't think there's too much in the presentation on strategic partners, but you can see right there we have investments from Auxly and Tilray and Up, which is now Hexo, and that's really the way we funded our business. They've been terrific partners, but over the last couple of years we've raised over $30 million, and Auxly and Tilray and Newstrike have been big contributors to those funding rounds. I really like this quote. We really wanted to have a purpose and stand for something. So when we're investing in our people, we use a lot of different tools. We have an online Spirit Hub where every employee goes in. There's lots of engagement. They train. They get rewarded for completing various modules. We have a huge responsibility as cannabis retailers to educate and to be knowledgeable for the community, the cannabis community, but also educate all the new users coming in, particularly with edibles on the shelf now. We have a lot of new consumers coming in who've never had cannabis. Maybe we're not comfortable consuming flower or smoking something, right? Not socially acceptable, and everybody wants to inhale. But you know what? I'm gonna try a gummy. So we really have to make sure our staff on the ground are knowledgeable and know what they're doing. Our HR manuals are amazing. Everything's online. Everything's standardized. We're a franchise system, so we need to have standard contracts. Like everything is just very, very polished, so our people are well taken care of. But the franchise model was really an interesting thing and totally new to the cannabis community. I mean, who's gonna buy a weed franchise, right? We were actually the first member to be accepted into the Canadian Franchise Association, which gave us huge credibility. When we started selling franchises in 2018, we had over 2,000 applications. Like, it was insane. I've been selling watch franchises for 10 years or 15 years. And I think in the whole time we maybe had 100 applications. So you can imagine we were like sitting there and we're going, oh my God, how are we gonna vet all these people? And it was just like such a rush. Everybody was in the green rush and wanted to get in. But our franchise partners, this has been really like our true success. They're the real trailblazers. They've all taken so much risk. They've put in so much time and perseverance. But having them at the ground floor and helping them open their stores, being there, training their staff, they're invested in, and it's really, I think, been the game changer for us to become one of the top brands in the country. Our retail design, again, there were so many people coming out, and I mentioned Seattle and Colorado, and everybody was saying, oh, we want to be the Apple Store of cannabis, and that was the last thing we want to be. We really want to be authentic. We want to show, the natural colors and woods and be true to the cannabis community. And you saw in the video there, and if you've been to, how many people went to the Banff store while they've been here? Anybody? Oh, good. So hopefully you had an amazing experience. That store, let me just give you an idea, does on average, well, I'm not gonna tell you the average, but if you do the volume, especially with all the cult gathering in town the last couple days, it's quite incredible. And a great store. I think we're the first cannabis company to open a store in the National Park. We have one in Jasper, we have a couple in Canmore, and just really, really amazing. But also the attention to detail in our stores. Everything from the merchandising, all the way down to the digital signage. Everything is really well thought out because we want our customers to come in, feel comfortable, spend time in our store, slow down the sale, and really just help our customers explore this new world of cannabis. And then, when you have the store, not only are we selling cannabis, but we've made a ton of cool stuff. So you've probably seen our rolling papers around, and last night I think it got a little out of control at the after party. We had the bongs out and the rolling trays. So All this stuff is custom branded, and from our experience in manufacturing in the watch business, where we had our own watch brand, our factory converted with us. So we've been able to just produce some amazing quality accessories and designs and Spiritleaf branded stuff, which really just helps our overall brand. You have to quote Willie Nelson in all your presentations. Then we also took a look at like the 360-degree marketing, right? So this is the most restricted industry. Like, you can't even believe it. Starting with, okay, we built these beautiful stores, now you have to cover them all up so kids can't see any cannabis or accessories inside. We can't advertise, we can't support charities, we like literally cannot do anything. So like it's unbelievable. And then when we do something, like we had a guitar, somebody come and play guitar in the store the other night, I'm just waiting for my call from AGLC if they see it on Instagram to say, sorry, you can't do that. So really, it's just the amount of content that we are trying to create that's unique and original, that follows within all the rules. We've got 2C here. These guys are the most amazing content creators, and creative stuff that they've been putting out is incredible. But we do a lot of cannabis events, a lot of visual media, a lot of strategy with our corporate and franchise campaigns. Going public was actually one of the best things I think we could have done, because we just garner so much press from it. We can talk about our company, we can talk about our expansion in all of the news channels, whereas we couldn't advertise in any of those. And then really it's important for, to speak directly to our customers, and all the social has been really good. We can barely say anything on, we can't show pictures of cannabis on Facebook or Instagram. We've had our account closed down a couple times because we mucked it up. And so there's all these kind of weird, weird things that you just can't do as a cannabis company, especially when US companies are running kind of the social channels. One of the best things, though, and my favorite thing of all time is PR. And what we really knew is, oh my God, cannabis is going to be legal in Canada. There's going to be a lot of noise, so we better have a great PR strategy. Well, let's see, I think we got a video here that shows all the PR we've garnered over the last 12 months, I think. Cannabis store in Ontario on April 1st of last year. So the PR has been incredible, and really just, every day we're in the news or we're getting a reporter reaching out. Let's talk about edibles today. Let's talk about the vape ban in Alberta today. Let's talk about the Ontario expansion, licensing delays, supply delays, and we're always there. The other kind of important pillar that I mentioned is we really wanted to be true to the cannabis community. This was, to me, the most important part of our brand, or one of the most important parts of our brands. We felt that if the cannabis community bought into us, that those who were new to cannabis or interested in cannabis always knew a friend, right? So who are you going to ask, hey, where should I go buy our cannabis? And we knew that if the cannabis community bought into us, that the rest of the country would really buy into Spiritleaf and what we're about. And being so difficult to advertise, one of the things we did is we did a partnership with High Times magazine. I'm not sure if anybody's seen, but these guys have been raising money for a while. High Times is the most iconic brand, actually started in the early 70s and really pushed the limit and was there for the readers and those who were enthused with cannabis. And so when they were raising money, we invested $100,000 into their company, but we said, hey guys, we want to do something different with you. So we kind of did a side agreement that gave all of our customers, we now have VIP access for life to all the Cannabis Cup events that we can give to our most frequent customers. We were able to sell High Times magazines in our stores and a few other things. But I just want to give you a quick insight into High Times and their cannabis community so you can really understand who that consumer is. And I love this video.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful time. The world is lucky to have something as beautiful as marijuana.
My first memory of High Times would have been when I was a kid and my dad had gotten a copy of it. It's like, oh my God, what is this?
Herb is important. Herb is a plant.
This is where we got to learn. This is where the foundation of our cannabis journey started. It was reading High Times articles. High Times really paved that road.
Marijuana laws, and they know the law is ridiculous, when you get a whole generation that grows up as felons.
High Times was the first, they took the chance when it was looked at as something that's taboo, and they brought it to the forefront always.
Just say no to drugs.
Growing up in the 80s, when all we got was that Mexican brickweed, and you'd look through High Times and see real green bud with trichomes, it seemed like impossible, like it was a fantasy.
Oh man, back in the 90s,
And I didn't inhale.
it's all about the weed. The artist is cool, but all I remember is just those big strands of bud on the cover.
My favorite cover was Snoop Dogg. He killed it.
Stoner of the year is Snoop Dogg.
Did somebody say smoke that shit?
The Stoner of the Year.
James Franco.
They all were on the covers of High Times, and these are guys who I grew up looking up to.
I don't know if all comedians owe marijuana a debt of gratitude, but I know I do.
Hey, what's up? Look, I'm in the middle of a photo shoot.
I really love that High Times is a supporter of women in the cannabis space. Articles like Susan Sarandon and Sissy Spacek, Pamela Anderson. These are cannabis feminists.
As a canna mom, I can say that High Times is one of my favorite publications. When I think of High Times, I think of the Cannabis Cup. I love exploring all the new technology. They're always ahead of the trend.
Marijuana, legalization, we're going to the next level now.
The connotation of what a cannabis consumer is definitely changing, and High Times is covering everyone.
Congratulations, High Times, on your 500th issue. 500? Big congrats, guys.
Thank you, High Times. Happy 500th issue. Woo!
Isn't that wicked? High Times magazine. So we've actually amassed the largest collection of High Times magazines in Canada. We have them in displays in all of our stores. What's fucked about it is AGLC, the Liquor and Gaming Commission here, said, you know what, Darren, you can't display, you're not allowed any celebrity endorsements. So we actually had to take all the covers that had celebrities on them down from the walls, replace them with, more non-celebrity ones. And then also they said, Darren, you're only allowed to sell cannabis and cannabis-related accessories in your stores that are used, directly for the use of cannabis. I was like, what do you mean I can't sell High Times magazines? Cannot sell High Times magazines in our stores. So I said to them, I said, I can, my kid and I would go to Chapters and buy kids' books and buy a copy of High Times magazine, but an age-gated cannabis-specific store, we can't sell High Times magazines. So that's the kind of bullshit we deal with on a regular basis. Anyway, and we do have, these are the first 4 issues from 1970, and these are on display in our office. So And then, oh yeah, of course, I think that's probably true for me. But the other thing we really want to do is we want to invest back in our communities, and everybody knows this as brand leaders and marketers. And we made a statement very early on to our franchise partners. It's very common for franchisors to take a rebate on things like on merchant fees. So the merchant provider would take a couple percent, and then the franchisor would get a kickback. But we stated very on to our franchise partners and to our customers, we are not going to take that kickback. That every penny of that will go back and we'll invest back in our communities. So we really, we want to educate on cannabis. We want to support through music and art and culture and sponsorships, and really just inspire people to do amazing things. Again, our Spirit Fund website got shut down. Because we're not allowed to invest back in our communities. We're not allowed to sponsor a film festival or a music festival. And these laws will change over time, but it's been pretty frustrating. But some of the cool things we have done is one of the early collaborations we did with New Strike, who was supported by the Tragically Hip, as part of a $4.5 million investment they made into us. We donated back $25,000 over 5 years to the Gord Downey Cheney Wenjack Fund. Which supports Indigenous reconciliation, and that's me there with Gord's brother, making a $5,000 donation on the eve of our opening in Kingston on April 1st. One of the other things we did was Mac the Moose, where we have a store in Moose Jaw. So there's a big contest that a city in Norway built a bigger moose than the one in Moose Jaw. So, we did our part to invest in. We're allowed to actually talk about charity in Saskatchewan, so one of the ways we'll kind of skirt the regulations is to make all of our charity events through the province of Saskatchewan. So investing back in our community is really important, and we're just getting started. Trailblazing, this has not been an easy journey. So remember, this is only 2 years old. We've raised $30 million. We've sold over 100 franchises. We opened 46 stores in the last 12 months, essentially. We've got another 40 stores to open this year. My team is just incredible. We've been working together, many of us, for 10, 15, 20 years. Some new faces that have really helped augment us. But collectively, we've just done some pretty amazing things. Here's some of the pain points. Everybody's ready to open stores. We've got our leases. We're paying rent. We've paid all this money. AGLC freezes because there's not enough supply. Ontario says, we're going to have an open market system. Everybody can open up as many as 75 stores. We go sign 25 leases in the province. Hard-fought battles, premium rents. 2 months later, just kidding. We're going to do a lottery for 25 licenses in the first year. Just the ongoing changes, and it's a new industry and nobody's done it. It's been crazy. We joke, every day we're like, okay, who's gonna punch us in the face today, right? So it's been kind of a crazy journey, and it's not for the faint of heart. But it just makes the victories all that much more sweet. So opening that first store in Calgary was amazing. Closing, I think we did $7.5 million financing. We upsized to $10 million. Opening that first store in impossible conditions, like literally, we converted on April 1st in Ontario. There were 25 lottery winners. We recruited a lottery winner who's been a great partner. We convinced him to move to Kingston, where we had a location ready to go. We built a store and had it fully ready, dealt with all the Ontario regulations in like 60 days, which in normal retail is probably doable. But to do that in cannabis retail was just exceptional. So that was a huge victory for us. And things like this, we just, we celebrate all these kind of little victories that we have, because there are a lot of pain points in trailblazing. And really, this is what we stand for. Cannabis is just a remarkable plant. It's been controversial for hundreds of years. And, what I see in it is we have a responsibility as a retailer to educate, to inspire, but, do something bigger. So, some peace, love, and harmony. To me, that's what the plant stands for. And I think so far, it's just the beginning, but we've certainly made incredible progress. So, thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Have a seat over here. I think the camera wants you on that side. Wow, What a story. Yeah, I could probably have a little bit of water, thank you. Let's start with the bullshit, which you just only hinted at in that presentation. But if you had your way, what would be the first 1, 2, 3 things you would have changed in order for businesses like you to actually realize their potential?
Well, I think government could be a lot better with transparency. So when you submit an application for something, you know that A, it's being received, B, somebody's looked at it, C, they give you a rough timeline as to how long it's going to be. For months and months, we sometimes sit in limbo, and particularly in BC, where it's just like, you don't know what's going on, nobody communicates with you, and so it makes it really difficult to budget and hire staff and do just the basic things that you would have to do to open a store and allow you to be proactive instead of reactive. And then on two, some of the regulations, I get it. It's new, people are scared, it's cannabis, and but things like covering your windows has been a huge pain point for us. We built these beautiful stores, we'd like to show them. And it was funny because when we had the first store prepared to go in October of 2018 on legalization, and we invited the police and the community guys around, and the police were like, "Why are your windows covered? This is so dangerous," which is what I've been saying all along. We can't see. If there's a problem, we can't see inside. And I was like, I know, talk to the AGLC. AGLC says, well, talk to Health Canada. So a number of cannabis stores have been robbed in the last month, and in the last couple months, where the staff are literally inside, and you can see a video of one where the staff are inside, two young women getting robbed, and one of their women's boyfriend is sitting outside in his truck waiting to pick her up after her shift,
oblivious to what's going on inside.
See what's going on. It's unbelievable. Wow. So we as a collective, we're taking down our window vinyls over the coming months, and just saying, what are you going to do about it?
Well, and I do wonder whether sometimes the way to get things changed is just to change it yourself and find out what happens. But I'm curious, you talked a little bit about education. Obviously, a big part of the success of your business is going to be educating consumers, those who are unfamiliar with the product. But it seems to me as though education of government and some of those stakeholders around are really important. How do you do that without just looking like the whining little retailer?
Well, look, we have a good relationship with all levels of government, and I think, myself in particular, where, I can text the head of AGLC and say, hey, have you guys thought about this? So we're really proactive instead of pointing our fingers and yelling and screaming. There's other companies that do that, but I think we've got a really good voice at the table and some of the government agencies are willing to listen and open to it, and it's really just massaging and picking your battle of the month.
Tell me about the franchise model and the thinking behind that particular approach versus another type of approach. Obviously, it seems as though you've had access to funding, so you probably could have opened them and owned them as you went along. So tell me a little bit about the thinking that led to that decision to use the franchise model.
Yeah. Well, one, we had a good history with franchising, so we were familiar with it. But I also always felt that a franchise partner could run a better store if, with the proper training and education and following guidelines in their local community than we could from a head office in Calgary. Like, I'm not going up to Cold Lake to check on the store and the management. So I think that was a big part of the decision, and it's proven to be excellent. But two, also, funding was part of it. Thank God we didn't have 46 leases that we were carrying on our own. So we were able to support our franchise partners through that. So while we've raised over $30 million, when you include what our franchise partners have put in, we're talking about $100 million in capital that's behind it. And these franchise partners are so passionate. They're on the floor every day. They're educating our consumers. They're working with our staff. We could not have done this without them, and I think it's really been part of our success.
That's cool. You talk about leases, and one of my clients who I know has left the gathering, so I can speak about them, Cadillac Fairview, have kind of, I would say, strict guidelines about whether they're going to entertain any kind of cannabis businesses. I'm curious about, okay, you've got a franchise model, you've got some great franchisees set up. How much pushback, if any, do you get from certain landlords? And is it a different kind of a deal for you versus some other franchisees who are coming in and looking to cut a deal?
Yeah, great question. And we've entered, I think, over almost 100 leases now. But at the beginning, and I would just, Cadillac Fairview is not in the cannabis business, for the record. Yeah, they'll keep you in the watch business, but not in the cannabis. No, Darren, you can't convert your stores. But I'm going to sell 10 times more weed than I'm going to sell watches. Sorry, Darren. Originally at the beginning, it was really tough. We could not get landlords, and it was a huge land grab, particularly in Alberta, when everybody was kind of jockeying for position, and there were all these rules and regulations, and most landlords just weren't comfortable with it. You had this stoner image, and they didn't want people, coming into their plazas that are stoners and going to be lingering around. But now that they've seen our stores and they realize we can pay premium rent, most landlords have been really turned the corner over the last year. And we've been welcome, and I mean, now there's 500 stores in Alberta, so I think the stigma is slowly being removed for landlords.
And so we've got some questions from the audience as well, and there's a question that kind of feeds right into that. Do you have any concerns with so many stores popping up all at the same time? I mean, this business is in its infancy. It's like a rocket ship taking off. And even in your own business, is there a strategy or is it opportunistic? You talked about the Kingston instance, but how much of it is the well-laid strategy and rollout of stores versus we need to be opportunistic because we need to get into a market before somebody, or we need to get into a market to blunt somebody else's success in there?
Well, there's two answers to that. So the first one, and this is from my years of working with Cult, and I've always talked about this with our franchise partners and staff, is this is going to become very competitive very fast. And the way that we are going to win that game is on our brand. And I think that's where we have a huge competitive advantage. If you look at our competitors, I don't think any of them understand or have ever attended the Cult gathering. So huge advantage for us. And the second one, a lot of it is just opportunistic. So, did I think I was going to be opening a location in St. Catharines, Ontario on Monday? Wasn't on my radar, but we needed this location on Lawrence Street in Toronto, and the landlord made it a package deal because they had somebody else would take it. So now we're opening a location in Toronto and St. Catharines, and we'll figure out how that's gonna go.
Cool. I think we have somebody who wants to do business with you in the audience here. It says, what's the process like to have products sold in your store? Are you looking for additional suppliers? And maybe just a little deeper than that, what is the process if somebody's got something that maybe the government will let you sell in your store? And how do they do they go directly to you? Do they have to go through the governing bodies? What's the process?
Well, for flower and cannabis specific products, we have to buy through the intermediary. So from a licensed producer, we'll sell their product for Alberta's sake, to the AGLC, and then we'll buy the product out of the AGLC. And so we really have one supplier for cannabis. They control the cost. They control the retail price because they're the only online retailer. So that's a little challenging. For accessories, though, we really try and curate a collection. We didn't want to look like a head shop, so we wanted to carry the best, and we want to carry the best of the best. So for rolling paper, as an example, if you go into a head shop, there's like 1,000 different rolling papers. But we've really curated our collection to the best iconic brands. So we carry Raw and we carry Zigzag, and then next to Raw and Zigzag there's going to be Spiritleaf ones which are a nickel less, and we make better margin. So that's kind of our accessory strategy. But if we also want to support some local producers, so some of our stores will carry some stuff from local glass blowers, and we give our franchisees a little bit of leeway in terms of what they can carry. But yes, if anybody wants to sell us product, just come speak to us afterwards.
They may all come running up on stage after you're done.
My team's at the front row. I don't know how to do any of that.
Yeah. So you talk about peace, love, and harmony as a sort of a brand positioning. Was your last or your second last slide? And there's a question here that kind of fits into that, but I also was going to ask you a little bit about this. So the question is, can you tell us more about your positioning? It looks like you're leveraging the outdoor natural world. And I was curious about did you always want to have a retail brand that embodied those kind of emotional traits? Or is it only once you started to get in this business that you thought this is a really potential differentiator for us?
Well, it's a great question. For me, it was really important that we did something that was true to the cannabis plant, right? I mean, and to me, cannabis has always been about music and creativity and peace, and you saw Bob Marley up in the video. So it was, you know, those three words I think maybe evolved over time. If I may, because we have a couple minutes, I'd actually like to read our manifesto, because I think that's what's come out here.
Yeah.
So over the last 2 years, you know, when you're building a brand, it's like, how are you going to like write a manifesto on day one? Well, we didn't. We worked on it for a couple of years, and this actually just, you know, is where we landed over the last few months. So where there is smoke, there is fire. Where there is fire, there is a deep passion to share our joy and knowledge of cannabis within the communities we live. There is no one more informed, more dedicated, or more willing than we are to educate, support, and inspire the people and the populations we serve. We harness our collective energy to create a beloved brand because this is our labor of love. We know where we come from, and our authenticity extends from the motivation of the people who have come before us, the pioneers behind the counterculture roots of the cannabis movement. We are anchored by our history and the practice of using the cannabis plant as a channel for creativity, tranquility, introspection, and sociability. We pledge to absorb and honor our cultural traditions and continue the legacy of elevating our inner spirits. We grow when our communities flourish, so it's our duty to cultivate deep connections within our consumers and our partners through understanding and continual engagement. We respect each individual's reason for choosing cannabis as a way of enhancing their quality of life. Social, therapeutic, and spiritual journeys are all welcome here. We know where we are going. We are trailblazers leading the charge in a brand new industry. We believe in connecting people in a world which is deeply divided. We believe that everyone matters equally, regardless of status, age, ethnicity, or creed. We aim to foster true community spirit through what we stand for, who we serve, and the products we provide. We can imagine a world full of peace, love, and harmony. We are Spiritleaf.
I think you need to run for public office now. So I'm curious about how you're going to use that and what role that will take in terms of recruitment, I guess, maybe in staffing, because certainly education is a big part of your success, which means people, and you need to find the right people who really embody that manifesto. So tell me a little bit about why you did that and how you're going to use it.
Yeah, so we use it everywhere. One, it's on every single wall in our stores, but in all of our advertising or social or media, you know, we grasp elements out of the manifesto and just apply it to whatever's, you know, whatever's relevant for what we're doing. But you know, we repeat this at our annual general meetings. All of our staff are obviously familiar with it, and we just try and share it with our customers as much as we can so they know what we're doing. And when you're shopping with us as Spiritleaf, that it's not just a corporation behind it. We're actually trying to do some good.
Yeah, not about the transactions. It's really about a relationship, which is kind of cool. This is a question that I often ask clients, and I'm curious about your answer, because to me that's a very well-defined description of what this business is all about, why it exists, and why you should participate in it. So when you're looking for staff, I like to ask the question of, is it culture fit or culture add when you're looking at someone? Are you looking for someone who really can reflect what you already stand for, or for somebody who respects that but who is maybe willing to help the company consider how it can evolve forward?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. So some of the I mean, one of the things that's been really rewarding for me is there's so many really passionate cannabis users, particularly this, you know, generation, this 20 to 30-year-old generation, and some of them, you know, look like, you know, I guess that atypical person, you know, tattoos and earrings and all that stuff. We've been able to give these individuals a career that they're passionate about, and they're just, the amount of education that they provide and authenticity that they provide in our stores is priceless. So I think that's, you know, I think that's part A. And then part B, there's other people that just have experience outside of the cannabis industry that can help us grow and do different things, whether that be in liquor or, you know, different types of business development. So, but at the same time, they have to believe in what we stand for. and just, you know, really fit in with our corporate culture and a quite gelled. Like, if you can imagine how we just opened 46 stores, we did that with a group of like 18 people at our corporate office. So we're lean and we operate and we're quite efficient. And we need any new intros are you know, well vetted and just make sure they fit.
Right, cool. I read an article just this morning in the Washington Post that I'm curious about your point of view on, because you made reference to partners, but really most of your partners are in the cannabis business. And we talked about the bullshit of all the regulations, and I would suspect that you would love to have some partners that are not in the cannabis business. So Nordstrom has just launched a thing called the Shoe Bar. I don't know if you've heard about it, in their New York store. And so you come in and you're going to go shoe shopping, but you're going to pay $17 for a cocktail or two. And they are talking, I mean, this whole article was about both sides of that. Is that a brilliant marketing stunt, or is it, you know, ethically questionable? And I immediately thought, geez, I could see Spiritleaf partnering with a traditional retailer and doing the same kinds of things, or I could see you bringing in other partners that are non-traditional. I know you're restricted from doing that now, but let's look 5-10 years down the road. What could that become?
Yeah, I think you'll see all sorts of great collaborations. It's really actually on the accessory side. I mean, I'm hoping that a deal we're contemplating will happen, where we're actually going to license our Spiritleaf brand to a very premium company who will sell Spiritleaf accessories in the U.S. as kind of our entry to get people familiar. So there's going to be all sorts of evolution to this industry. We joke in the industry that 1 year feels like 7 because it's just so much happening and it's so fast. And to your point, like, I think the next 5-10 years are really going to be incredible as cannabis becomes more normalized and people are more comfortable with it, and it just becomes as common as having a cocktail after work as, hey, let's have a chew and or a little gummy or something and go have a nice afternoon or evening.
Well, time is up. I appreciate you answering the questions from me and from the audience. It's great to hear the success story in the first 2/14 years of success, and I wish you more. Thanks again for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.